Hey guys, have I got a video for you? Guys, it's a little bit crowded here. I don't know if you can see, but I've got some pink princesses here. I've got 3 pink princesses here. Now, I would say that only 2 of them are mine, not 3 of them. But look at this one that I recently got. Isn't she a stunner? That leaf. Oh, so this is a new leaf because it's that olive greeny colour, but when she gets, when that leaf becomes more mature, it's going to darken up to an almost black colour. But you can see that variegation that's going to turn a beautiful pink colour. Guys, I do feel a little bit greedy here because I've got 3 pink princesses with me. So I've got this one, I've got this little one, and then I've got this one. The first 2 are mine. This one I'm actually got for a friend, and I'm going to be giving it to her tomorrow. So I'm super excited to give that to her because I know she's just gotten into houseplants and she wanted a pink plant. And I think she wanted the pink princess, so I'm pretty excited to give this one to her. This one was $20 from the Succulent Corner here in Sydney. I'll insert a link which shows you when I got it and what that nursery looks like if you're interested. What I wanted to do was to do a video that focuses on to maintain the pink variegation in the plant. So I just wanted to do a video that goes through some of the research that I've done about what is the best way, or what are some of the tips we can do to maintain as much pink on the pink princesses. Guys, I'm also I decided to wear like a pink t-shirt just in the spirit of this video. One of the first things to keep in mind when we're talking about the pink princess is understanding what variegation is. By understanding that, then the idea is then we can know what are some of the ways we can maintain it or get rid of it. So variegation is actually a virus in the plant that attacks the chlorophyll in the leaves. So chlorophyll is what gives the leaves that green color, and a variegated plant would have a virus in it which stops the plant from producing that green, or limits the ability of that plant to produce the green bit. Now the green bit is what is known as chlorophyll, and that's the bit of the cell that allows the plant to photosynthesize. And photosynthesis is a way that a plant can create energy for itself from the sunlight. So the more green a plant has, the healthier it is, because then it can create that energy to support itself and help itself grow. So variegation in the first instance is the virus that limits the chlorophyll within the plant. Now variegation can be in different forms. It could be white, yellow, mint green, and in the pink princess's case, a pink color. Now given variegation is a virus, your pink princess is facing an internal battle to get rid of that virus. Now of course the pink princess is very aesthetically pleasing to us because the pink is very pretty on this plant, and so what we want to do when we care for this plant is just to keep it as comfortable as possible so it doesn't feel like it needs to do all the work to support itself. So what I'll do in this video is I'll try to give you tips which are aimed to encourage and maintain as much pink as you can in your pink princess. Actually, one thing I wanted to kind of show you guys is if you're in the market of getting a pink princess, how do you pick a plant that will have pink variegation? And what you want to do is you want to actually look at the stems. So stems such as this one, can you guys see that? That is pink variegation. That is the virus running rampant in this plant. So the more pink variegation you see on the stem, the more likely it is that your plant will give off pink variegation. One thing I like to do first before going into tips is just to have an understanding of the plant itself. Now the pink princess is a hybrid of the Philodendron ERUBESCENS. So it is a hybrid of the Philodendron ERUBESCENS, which is a plant that is native to Colombia. It is a climbing plant, and so what we'll do is it will start off on the ground, and then its aerial roots will start to climb onto other trees. Erubescens. I'm having trouble with that word. So as an arborescens, it's also a shade-loving plant, and it likes to live in the tropics where it's quite warm and the humidity is quite high. So these are some of the characteristics I like to keep in mind when we go through some of these tips, because those will be relevant when we talk about how do we maintain the pink variegation in our pink princess. With the pink princess itself, new leaves start off this in this olive colour, and as they mature they then become darker like this, and for some plants they can turn, I've seen these plants turn almost a black colour. So one of the key tips that I've seen in terms of maintaining the pink variegation is making sure you get your lighting right. The pink variation is caused by a virus in the plant that prevents chlorophyll from being produced. Chlorophyll is what gives the plant the ability to turn sunlight into energy. And so what you want to ensure is that your pink princess has enough light so that it doesn't need to rely on itself to produce more green leaves to convert that energy. Now, a pink princess specifically, it likes bright indirect light. So what that means from a practical perspective, if you're keeping this as a houseplant, is to keep it near a window that doesn't get afternoon sun. So these are windows that are typically south, north or east facing windows. If you are having your plant outdoors, you should keep this plant in a shaded location, otherwise it is very susceptible to being burnt. And I can show you an example of that for this one. Now this is my pink princess, and you can see that the pink on this pink princess has burnt a lot because I've been a bad plant parent and have kept this in an area where it's gotten too much sun. And so as you can see, where it had variegation, this is what happens when you keep the pink princess in too much light. Areas of variegation tend to burn a lot quicker under the sunlight. So it's kind of like humans, where we need to put on sunscreen to stop our skin from burning. The chlorophyll in the plant also stops it from becoming sunburned. By giving your plant enough sunlight, some specifically bright indirect sunlight, what you're doing is you're enabling the plant, or you're giving it enough light so that it doesn't feel the need to produce more green bits to survive. The converse of this is that if your plant, if it's not getting enough sunlight, then your plant will feel the need to produce more green to attract as more sunlight as possible. So it's an important balance of ensuring you give your plant as much light, and this will ensure that your plant feels comfortable with the level of chlorophyll it has, and it doesn't feel the need to produce more green leaves. So what I wanted to show everyone here is sort of a comparison between the lighting arrangements I have and what it does to the plant. So this philodendron, this pink princess, is kept in a lower light than this philodendron, this pink princess. Now I know that the leaves don't look too much different, but for this plant that's kept in brighter sunlight, the leaves are definitely more green with an olive undertone. And as I've said before, this plant has been sunburned because it had too much direct light. Compare it to this one, where I keep it in my greenhouse beneath other plants. This philodendron has much more darker leaves, and it has more variegation that's better, that's more well maintained, it's not sunburned. Now the second most important tip in maintaining variegation is actually pruning. Now that was a new tip I came across. Pruning the plant helps maintain the right level of variegation within the leaves. The optimal mix of variegation to maintain a consistent level of pinkness is actually 50-50 in the leaves. So what that means is where you get a leaf that's too pink, and I don't have an example at the moment, if you get a leaf that's too pink, what that means is that there's actually not enough chlorophyll in that leaf, probably die a lot quicker because it doesn't have the energy, it's unable to make the energy to sustain itself. So in those instances where you see a leaf that has greater than 50% variegation, what you want to do is actually prune the plant. And to prune it is to cut off where the petiole meets the stem. So petiole meets the stem, that's where you want to prune the leaf that's throwing off too much variegation. I've also read that pruning also ensures that the leaves don't get too big. So obviously as your plant grows, the leaves become bigger, because the bigger the leaves, the more chlorophyll your plant wants to produce to create more energy to sustain it, because it's getting bigger. So I've heard that by maintaining smaller leaves, you're actually maintaining the variegation in the plant. Now tip number 3 is around having the best soil mix for your plant. Now as an aroid, and particularly a climbing aroid, you want to have soil that's quite aerated. It has a bit of orchid bark in it, or sphagnum moss. Now orchid bark and sphagnum moss are designed to echo the tree trunks or those types of environment where your climbing philodendron likes to live in nature. The aerated soil is important because as a climber, as it makes its way through the trees, the less soil it has, but the more air its roots would have. So it's important to ensure that your plant is kept in quite aerated soil. So the mix, the potting mix I have is 50% orchid bark, a 10% or so of perlite, which is these white volcanic rocks here, and I think 40%, if my percentages are right, 40% potting mix. Important thing to also keep in mind with soil for your Philodendron Pink Princess is to make sure it doesn't dry out. As we mentioned before, this plant is a hybrid of the Philodendron ERUBESCENS, which is found in Colombia. Colombia is a place where it's quite tropical, it's a rainforest plant, and so it likes to be kept relatively moist. So another thing to keep in mind in terms of maintaining the vibrancy of your pink is to ensure that your soil is not dried out. Now I have an example here of this Pink Princess. The leaves of this plant actually are a bit dull in real life, and one of the reasons I suspect that is because when I picked him up I noticed that he was kept on the shelf, which was quite exposed to light, and also his potting mix was quite dry. So when I got him, I gave him a big drink of water. Guys, this is probably an example of where I've kept the soil a bit too dry. You can probably see because the aerial roots here are a little bit dry. I'm also conscious these aren't in the best conditions. So I hope no one's too offended about these plants. I'm doing my best to make sure they are well looked after, but I also wanted to, given that I'm experiencing these with my plants, I also just wanted to share with everybody. So I think in a big way you can learn from my mistakes and ensure your plant is healthy. I've also heard that this plant can grow quite well in just sphagnum moss, but I'm not that bold to try it yet. So from a soil perspective, loose, well-draining soil is important with a high content of peat moss or organic bark that helps maintain moisture. The next tip I have is that ensuring that the temperature is right for this plant. Again, it's just to keep this plant happy so it doesn't feel stressed. Being a plant whose family is found in the tropics near the equator, this plant doesn't like any frost. Its ideal temperatures is between 16 to 30 degrees with humidity levels of about 50%. So I live in Sydney where it's quite warm. During the winter where it gets below 15 degrees, what I like to do is I like to put this plant in the greenhouse nestled amongst other plants to maintain the warmth. In terms of increasing humidity, given that this is a rainforest plant, I like to spray the air around this plant. Another way to maintain the moisture levels or the humidity around this plant is to put it on a tray of pebbles filled with water, so that as that water evaporates, it evaporates around this plant. I mentioned previously this plant is a climber, so it likes to feel supported. So having a wooden stake near the plant would help it to encourage it to climb up and to grow. The last tip I have for you is around pest control. Philodendrons, and particularly the pink princess, is quite an easy plant to take care of. The only biggest concern for this plant is around root rot. One thing I'd say to keep in mind is to make sure you pay attention to the watering schedule. You don't want the soil to dry all out before you water it, but at the same time you don't want to consistently water your plant. This is particularly important given that the mix for your plant is part orchid mix or sphagnum, which retains moisture. So what I like to do is I have a moisture meter that I would pop into here every couple of days just to gauge how wet the soil is before I water it. And with any plant where you're trying to keep the environment quite moist, you just want to be careful or mindful of fungus gnats, and those are the little flies that can fly around your plant. But guys, I hope you found this video helpful about how to encourage and maintain the pink variegation in your pink princess. I hope you found this video helpful. I can't wait to give my plant, I can't wait to give my friend her plant. It is a beautiful plant, and obviously I'm going to wait until I give her this plant before I post this video because I want it to be a surprise. But guys, let me know if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!